Man with the stick.
Hello to all you Doctor Who fans. I'm speaking to you from the set of The Two Doctors, and I just want to say I'm very sorry I can't be with you.
I'm going to lash you to within an inch of your life. And then I'm going to have you.
The nature of Monkey was irrepressible.
I'm going to rescue her. I'm going to save Rose Tyler from the middle of the Dalek fleet, and then I'm going to save the Earth, and then, just to finish off, I'm going to wipe every last stinking Dalek out of the sky!
But you have no weapons, no defenses, no plan!
Yeah. And doesn't that scare you to death? Rose?
Yes, Doctor?
I'm coming to get you.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, good evening, good morning. I hope you're all doing well. This is nearly live. It's not, well, listen, it was live at my time, 9:50 a.m., right? That's when it was live. It's no longer, look, I got to have a night off occasionally. I try and take Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays for Sabbath off, right? But normally I'm live, right? But normally what I do on the days I'm not live is I put together compilations of the stuff I've done while I was live, right? Rico, and it's weird, there's a whole different audience for it, right? There really is a bizarre how different the audience is for it. But I digress. So I want to do a quick intro because I wanted to put together a few videos today. My initial reaction to Star Beast and after 24 hours, looking at the ratings, etc. But this might go a little bit longer because there's a bunch of stuff on my stream I wanted to get to last night. But it's not doing well, right? This is the reason I'm adding this in. It's because I can tell you categorically the BBC are not happy, right? This has not worked out the way they wanted. If the BBC's not happy, Rusty Davies probably apoplectic. The ratings are low, right? And there's a lot of spin, like, no. In 2023, 5.08 million is good. No. Strictly Come Dancing got 7.67. That's a good rating, right? Which is on right next to it. No, and there's a lot of stuff. Copium, I call it. Like they always do the same thing, right? When they did this all through the Jodie Whittaker years, and I know factually from inside the BBC, right, that they were apoplectic with the failure of the Jodie Whittaker Doctor. They didn't understand it. They couldn't comprehend it. They didn't know why it was happening. They just were like, right? And when Rusty Davies, I think, listen, I wasn't privy to the what really happened, but I think the most likely case scenario seems to be that David Tennant and Catherine Tate and Rusty Davies said, yeah, let's go and do a special or a couple of specials or something after the lockdown, the watch-alongs. And good for them for that, right? Honestly, good for them for that. And then they went to meet with the BBC, and the BBC said, oh, wait a minute. Doctor Who's dead. We're screwed. We need somebody to run it. We need somebody to take it over. And then Rusty Davies ripped open his shirt with, I would say, with not an S now, it's a LGBTQ symbol, like rainbow. I will defend Doctor Who. So that's how I think it went down. I don't know, right? It's called guessing, right? Anyway. But I know they were like, oh my God, it's doing so badly. And I think the expectations for this return was much higher, right? I think they expected the overnights to be 6.5 minimally, right? Again, Strictly Come Dancing, right next to it, got 7.67, right? And so they pull up these ridiculous statistics that really mean nothing. Like, it did better than I'm a Celebrity. I'm like, well, okay, then it did better. That was on at what, 9:30, 10? This was on at 6:30. Nobody really, most people were coming home from the pub then or going for a curry. Will you stop, behave? It's not apples to apples, right? Apples to apples, if you want to compare it, will be comparing it to the 50th anniversary, which got 10 million. I'm not sure if 10 million were overnight or if they were probably consolidated. Look, if it's got 10 million overnight, must have minimally got 8 million, right, live. And I wonder what the live viewers rating was. But anyway, we're going to find out more next week. I imagine the ratings will go up to about 7.5 million. That will be, if they break 8, I'll be very surprised, right? Break 8, but here's the thing. the ratings that include iPlayer are bullcrap, essentially, right? And the people inside the BBC know it's bullcrap. It's there for spin. They count anybody who's watched it, I think, for 2 minutes. I actually heard the other day it's 1 minute as a full view. No, it's not. No, it's not. No. Somebody watches it for 1 minute and goes, yeah, I'm crap, leave me alone. But they can see when people turn off, when people had enough, how long people watch for. The data, I think, is very bad, right? Very, very bad for this revival, and it's not going well, and it's going to get worse, right? With the best will in the world, unless you've got something extraordinarily good and popular, the ratings go down after the premiere. Like, honestly, unless you've got something stellar that everybody loves, like the 2005 Doctor Who, those ratings went up, right? It developed a name for itself. I think the opposite's going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if next week is the overnight is under 4, right? I wouldn't be surprised at all. 3.5, 4. I don't know. I think it's going to have a major fall off because, look, there was a movie that came out a year or so ago called Bros, which was a romantic comedy for gay people, and nobody went to see it. Billy Eichler, who was just kind of like obnoxious, wrote and directed, I think, or did something with it. But nobody went to see it because you're aiming at a tiny, tiny, tiny part of the population, which is what they do. They're aiming at it, which is what they're doing here, and they convince themselves. Rusty Davies convinced themselves that no, really, everybody thinks that women with penises is a normal thing, right? Everybody thinks that, and it's only the icky racists and the Turks and the Nazis and that you completely disconnected from reality, and this like insanity that Rusty Davies has, and we're going to look at it in a bit more detail in a minute, that anybody who isn't on board with this gender theory, which I think is not real, right? Anybody who's not on board with it, they have to label as an evil, right? Like evil person, a turf, whatever you want. No, and there are legitimate concerns which, if they would have an open debate, right, an open conversation, and talk about these things, honestly, I think they would do the cause a lot more good. Frankly, they would have done the cause of making trans people more visible and more accepted in society if they had the character Rose in this. Firstly, we should have been a bit older. I mean, I didn't realize he was supposed to be playing a 15-year-old. Well, it makes sense because it was 15 years since she got married or something, maybe 13. I don't know. She'll be playing a 15-year-old, and that means she transitioned, when she was 14, 12? I don't know. Here's the truth. The vast majority of people who transition as children, if they do not receive gender-affirming care, if they do not receive gender-affirming care, they desist. They stop being trans, right? That's just the way. And I think in a world where it's not being trans isn't lauded as something stunning and brave, you'll find the instances far, far, far lower. But yeah, here's the thing: the entertainment industry, Rusty Davies has convinced themselves they're in the majority, where again they're in the teeny tiny minority, right? And I don't think the bad viewing figures were because of that. I think the bad viewing figures because nobody knew how insanely, annoyingly woke it would be. And when I say insanely, annoyingly woke, it was different woke from Chris Chibnall in that his Doctor Who was unwatchably bad stories with no pacing, badly cast, with Jodie Whittaker having no charisma whatsoever, globbing onto whatever the fashion at the time is, like, oh look, there's Phasmin, right? And on top of that, lots and lots of wokeness, right? Lots of messaging. The message. Here you had a somewhat dumb, simplistic, but quite fun, right? Slick, fun episode of Doctor Who with the message going all the way through it. Now, it depends how sensitive you are to the message, that how much of a problem that is for you. Like, I find watching Doctor Who today like an exercise in how much irritation I can handle before I can't ignore it anymore, right? So the minute we see Yasmin Finney straight away, I'm irritated because I know that's a woman with a penis. It's not somebody. I think, I don't know. I don't think it's somebody transitioning. I think it's somebody who's trans, which is different. It's a woman with a penis, and so instantly, I think just her presence there is making a statement, and it's a statement that I think most people don't really agree with. Now, again, I understand the argument and say, well, you just want all trans people to be erased. No, yeah, again, I have no problem with seeing trans people on TV, trans people having roles on TV, right? I have no problem with that whatsoever. I do dislike trans propaganda trying to convince children that a fringe, what I believe to be a kink, is actually a legitimate, healthy sexual drive, right? I don't think it is. I think it's there for people who have the kink to feel better about having that kink. I think it's real pure narcissism to try and convince children children of this. And look, the reason why the vast majority of people who are of the Russell Davies outlook don't have children, right? And they say, no, let children choose. We're going to go over the normal stupid stuff they say, right? Let children choose. It's because they don't have children. And you don't understand. You can convince a child to do pretty much anything, right? You have complete, an adult has unprecedented power over a child, and you don't realize that, right? Children are inherently trusting and innocent, right, man? And honestly, it's not so bad to be innocent, right? I think, bottom line is this: I feel that the more likely than not, somebody adopting a trans lifestyle will not have a great life, right? And that's the bottom line, And it's that's not me hating them. That's my opinion, right? I don't think I have a great life because I'm a Bible thumping religious person, and I think essentially God loves us, right? I think God is real and God loves us, and it was pouring out. I was thinking earlier, am I going to walk the dog this morning when it stopped raining, or shall I wait and see? And my leg was hurting, so I'll wait and see. Guess I backed the wrong horse there. Well, hopefully it'll stop. Because the dog. Okay, here's an aside. The dog needs to be walked, right? Because her nails are getting too long, and I was like sick for a long time, and so I haven't been walking her so much, and nobody else has either. Because everybody else is useless. Anyway, I digress. So I think my conception of God is a loving God that sees everybody as being equal and wants the best for everybody in an ultimate existence type of way. And essentially the function of the Old Testament is a guidebook on how to achieve a happy life, right? And the horrible truth is that is true. How, like, marriage, fidelity, parenting, honesty, all these things that are boring, right? Are boring, like fidelity, monogamy, all these things that are super duper duper boring actually bring you happiness. And not only happiness, a great deal, more pleasure than not. All right. I mean, if I compare and contrast Rusty Davies's It's a Sin. First episode show you what gay life was like in London in the early 80s, and there was a lot of rampant sex. And I don't think that's what sex is really for, right? I think sex is to bond a husband and a wife together, because I think there's something genuinely holy about that sanctity of marriage. I do, right? Again, I'm not trying to convince you. This is my opinions, right? But I think the making sex so incredibly pleasurable and making such a strong drive makes that sacrament, right? If I'm using the right word, much, much stronger, right? It bonds people together. Yes, sex is super duper fun, right? But it's not as fun as you think it's going to be, right? I mean, honestly, you would think that rampant casual sex would be awesome, but it basically makes you miserable. Now, compare it to was it a son of mine who just got married? Now, I don't know his private life because he's a private person, right? It's not my business. But I'm pretty sure, because he was raised religious, and I knowing his character, that he was a virgin when he got married. I think all my kids are, right? And I know that's crazy for a lot of you to hear, right? I think his sex life is going to be so much freaking better, right? Just so much better for that, because you know, your first sexual experience is kind of definitive for the rest of your life. It sticks with you forever, and it's the thing that you compare's the wrong word, right? But it's like the touchstone for all your other sexual experiences. So having that with somebody you're committed your life to, that you love, that's also probably going to be quite good, right? You end up with a better sex life, bottom line, right? And I think by doing the traditional things, you will die surrounded by children, loved, and have a loving life. And I think not doing that, you're going to end up with a miserable life. Now, again, that's my worldview, my opinion, that I don't seek to imprint on anyone. I don't need anybody else to do that to validate that choice for me, right? But I would like to be able to raise my children in a way where there isn't propaganda, right? Propaganda telling them that everything the opposite of the truth is true, right? Which I have a big problem with. I think this episode was a lot of propaganda, right? I think there was a lot of propaganda in this one, and it killed the episode, frankly. So I think the low ratings are because of the people just don't like the BBC. They don't go to the BBC anymore. They don't go to regular TV anymore. You know, they just don't, right? They just don't, and they don't go. Even more so, they don't go to Doctor Who because they know it's like a boring woke fest, right? Where you're going to be lectured. That's what the Jodie Whittaker years were like. There was nothing good about it. You know, that was the central focus. And I think anybody tuning in will have seen the lecturing that we saw from the Starbeast. And tragically, because there's so much great in it. I love Meet the Peep. I thought that was great. I thought Miriam Marcus, who I can't stand, was brilliant, right? Brilliant, freaking perfect casting. The charisma of David Tennant and Catherine Tate off the charts. And it looked fantastic. Actually, it came out on Disney Plus the day after here in Israel. So I watched it a second time because I think it's kind of cool to be able to watch it streaming. I don't know why that's cooler, but it is. You know, on a big screen TV in 4K. Looked freaking gorgeous. But all of that is kind of worthless when it's telling you that black is white, and up is down, right? And it's trying to convince your kids of an ideology that I believe is very detrimental to them, right? Which I said this on my stream last night, that this is the first time I wouldn't be happy with my kids watching Doctor Who. I mean, they can watch it now; they're grown up, but like I wouldn't be happy if they were young than watching Doctor Who, and that blows my mind, right? That really, really genuinely blows. Anyway, so the revival has gone very badly. The rating went very. So how do we know, right? How do we know? Let me demonstrate. I got my video got blocked last night and normally when your video gets blocked, you have it because I showed lots of clips, which were all released and above board with and it was fair use. There was really no problem with them whatsoever. I showed clips from Starbeast, and they normally just say, oh, there's 10 seconds from here to here you got to cut out, and there's 10 seconds here. No. There was, let me show you. There was a blanket insistence that I cut out half an hour out of a 2-hour stream, right? So that only happens. Here, one second. I'll show you where they go. That only happens. Oh, great thumbnail, so you're doing good. That only happens when they are when they want to stop discussion about it. They want to stop discussion about it because they are in free fall. So basically, they had me cut out everything from here, right? All this stuff, all this again. Look, this was Doctor Who Unleashed. That was also that they posted to Twitter and then removed it, right? And they removed it from their YouTube channel as well. That's very telling. This is Rusty Davies saying, "Yeah, no, we're trying to get into indoctrinate children. That's actually the plan." Right? Yeah, no, because this is a good thing. So we cut out all of this, right? Keep going. Yeah, we looked at the new TARDIS. Cut out all of this. I mean, like, just we looked at the titles. Titles were excellent as well, right? Keep going. I think it was and all of this, right? There's a one blanket half hour, right? That's a lot of stuff to cut out, right? That is a lot of stuff to cut out. And I think that's very indicative of the sheer palpable terror that is going on in the BBC today, because it didn't do well, right? I know they're going to say it did. As far as I recall, didn't Boris Johnson say there wasn't any party at number 10 Downing Street during COVID? Didn't they say that? Yeah, that's called lying, right? Lie. It's not hard, right? You know, it's Louis C.K. does a very good bit about lying, right? Where how kids learn it's a get out of jail free card very, very on. You know, they because parents are scary to children, right? They are scary to children. They go, "Did you eat the chocolate? Did you eat the chocolate?" And that's how kids hear it, right? When you parent, "Did you?" Right? And the kid goes like, and they go, "No." And the parent goes, "Well, okay then. Have a nice day." And the kid's like, yeah, it's hard to put that get out of jail free card that works in every situation back in the box, right? So you're lying. When they say it did well, they're lying. And I understand that, like, BBC is not a popular channel anymore, right? They, again, compare 2013 to 2023, 10.8 million, right? Because that's when people used to watch BBC. They stopped. They stopped because the BBC clearly is run by people that hate them, right? And so, and people who have very different values. So, you know, so that's one. I think that's probably the biggest reason. That, and again, the awfulness of Jodie Whittaker. But next week, I imagine they might. I mean, like how much they lose, I'm going to be, I'm going to be quite happy about it. You know, but the more they lose, the happier I'm going to be. And that's even if it's a good episode with no lecturing in it whatsoever. There may be no lecturing in it, anything coming up at all anymore, right? Although there is a rumor that Shooter's going to be regenerating from Donna Noble. All right, really? It's like there's some funky going on with regeneration. Yeah, they keep going on. Oh, why does his face come back? Why is his face? Right? No, why did you regenerate with your clothes? I think that's a much bigger issue, right? So yeah, did not go down well. So fine. What I wanted to do last night and I didn't get to is a quick look over social media to see what the response was, and it's not good, right? It's not good. It's not fun. It's not funny. Yeah, a second. Share screen. Doink. Here we go. So this was a review for the Metro. Review of Doctor Who Star Wars, the 6th anniversary special is a curse worst nightmare. You know, it turned out to be the BBC's worst nightmare because they didn't pull out the death dive. I mean, a little bit, but they were still. They expected 6.5. It got about 20 to 30% lower than they thought it was going to. And yeah, it might be a TERF's worst nightmare, but most of the country are TERFs. You got to keep that in mind. Most of the country think that if you have a vagina, you're a girl. If you have a penis, you're a boy. We're very polite to people and say, "Oh yeah, okay, you can be whatever." Nobody really believes it, right? It's just being polite, and this just is so indicative of the bullying that is very, very commonplace, right? I find coming out the transgender world, which we're gonna look at in a second, right? Accept me as I groom your children. No, I'm not going to. And so we see that it hasn't really gone down. Here's Rotten Tomatoes, 100% on the critics. Oh yes, those idiot critics, they love it. Weirdly enough, that's why people don't really care what idiot critics have to say anymore. 57% audience score, and that was up from 49.50 yesterday, right? So that's a bad indication, right? All these are very, very bad indications. So where to go next? There's I mean, look, one of the things that yeah, one of the things that's right again is people are seeing it as the indoctrination that it is, right? So we got this person over here, reposted Ollie London saying the new episode of Doctor Who. Yeah, they have a trans character. You're assuming he as a pronoun. Are they a he, she, or they? Alien, my chosen pronoun is the definite article. I get it. I understand there are wacky Fruit Loops who really, really believe this stuff is very important, right? I do get that. But most normal people do not, right? Most normal people do not. I'm sorry that's the case, right? I am genuinely sorry that's the case. But it is the case. Anyway, so the Family Education Trust, who I know nothing about, right? They may be Nazis for a while. I don't think they are. Right? Who are? Let's see what they say about themselves. UK's National Research Institute investigate and informing public discourse on issues affecting the flourishing of family. Well, again, I think the trans ideology is very much against that. So the whole episode is dedicated to promoting the cult of gender ideology. Many vulnerable children watch Doctor Who. That's the point. This is dreadful propaganda from the BBC yet again, right? And it is, right? I mean, it just is. Who we have? Hills versus Babyface. He chimes in and says, Doctor Who pulled in a 5.08 million on what should have been David Tennant's triumphant return. This is what's going on the BBC right now. This should have been, we put David Tennant in. Why not? Apathy is set in. And when the most popular Doctor can't even pop a rating, what hope does it have? Oh, and there was the episode itself. We're not even getting there. Yeah, look, it was a fail in many, many ways. So here's an example of how and why it failed, right? And so we have the person saying, imagine if it was the other way around, and during Joda's run, that this was said on the first episode, really. Imagine the absolute outrage, right? If the original scene is so brilliant, right? So we have this scene at the end where, again, look, Yasmin Finney just looks more mannish the more I look at them, right? So they have this scene where they lecture David Tennant's Doctor and say, and he said, I don't know how to stop the meta crisis going on. They said, and you know nothing. It's a shame you're not a woman anymore, because she'd have understood something male presenting Time Lord will never understand. A male presenting Time Lord will never understand. That's so incredibly sexist. And then you had Shirley Ann Bingham, what's her name? Ruth Madeley, right? In the wheelchair, who I quite like the character, right? They look over smugly. Yes, women are better than men. That's called sexism. So in that case, you don't mind sexism. You like sexism. You just want to have the power to be sexist to men, right? If you think something's intrinsically wrong, so again, imagine Jodie Whittaker, first episode, right? If presented as positive characters, not negative characters. These are presented as heroes, not villains. And you know nothing. It's a shame you're not a man anymore, because he'd have understood something a female presenting Time Lord will never understand. It's again this fantasy that women are disadvantaged in Western civilization in 2020 is ludicrous, right? It's absolutely ludicrous. It's beyond ludicrous. So I had a bit back and forth. Look, this guy seems like a nice guy, right? But I think it gives you a real insight into that mindset, right? And it really is. And I think that mindset comes along with quite a lot of mental illness. So when I heard the ratings, I posted on Twitter. Holy crap! Overnight ratings for hashtag Doctor Who was a paltry 5.08 million, with strictly straight after getting 7.67. That's a big deal. I expected a lot better. So did the BBC, which is why again they're blocking people talk about it whenever they can find a way. And given the central focus was fringe sexual kink propaganda for children, I see that number falling next week quite a bit. I do. I mean, if it goes under 4, I'll be like, yes. Oh, if it goes under 4, I might dance a jig. Okay, because I like to be validated like any other human being. So this person comes saying, Benjamin person comes in and says 5.8 million It's the highest figure since 2018, though. Yes, the BBC have been on a death dive ever since because they since 2018. Yeah, and it's not really. Again, it's we're gonna have to see what the iPlayer ratings are, but again, they're bullshit. They're like when I found out there was a live figure without iPlayer ratings, that blew my mind how much less it was. So I replied, it should have been a lot higher, but the damage was done by the BBC and the Chibnall era the last 5 years. A real measure will be next week's ratings, which I think will have a significant drop. I don't think so. I don't think so. As there are a lot of people who liked it. Yes, you had 5 million people. There was a lot of people, right? Even Ian Levine liked it, which was a surprise. You just want it to fail for realizing that other people existed. This is such a bizarre point of view, right? Why can't we have trans representation without trans indoctrination propaganda? Why are the two things the same, right? Again, and there's a need to frame anybody questioning trans ideology as an evil person, because essentially they can't answer the questions, right? So I said, dude, I saw it. It was a pretty good fun romp, which constantly hit you in the face with the message with all the satire of a baseball bat. What they're propagandizing, in my opinion, is a genuine danger to kids. It's the first time I wouldn't want my kids to watch Doctor Who. And that's how most people feel about the whole trans issue. It's a fringe kink that's being portrayed as a healthy identity. That's why Bud Light went down in flames, along with so many others. But we'll see what the ratings are next week. Oh, there's more replies on it. Well, I am non-binary, so I guess that means you hate me too. Why does that mean I hate you? That I don't share your worldview doesn't mean I hate you. I'm Jewish, which means I don't believe in central tenets of Christianity. It means Christians don't believe in central tenets of Judaism. We don't hate each other. I mean, the Crusades was a bit fraught, but other than that, no, I mean, like, it's learning to coexist with people who are different than you, right? But we don't. It's beyond me, right? It's really, really beyond me. So I asked him, why do you think I hate you? Again, that's like saying I hate Christians because I don't share their beliefs. It's just crazy. Also, apparently, the episode was the highest audience share of any original BBC drama since 2014 with 36%. Again, you'll see how arcane and bizarre these statistics they go to, right? To say, oh no, that didn't know. Okay, who gives a shit, right? So I explained, yeah, dude, that's just copium. When something does badly, they normally find statistics that make it seem like it did well. I've heard from a number of people that in turn the BBC is very, by this time I had, the BBC is very disappointed, not happy at all. Apparently, while we were on the next week's episode budget was the same as it got to make Series 4 too. Blimey. I'm intrigued by next week's episode, right? I am. I just hope it's not going to be an exercise in relentlessly lecturing me, right? About, again, or propagandizing children to a worldview which I think is inherently destructive to them, right? At the end of the day, the world will be a better place if we just let everybody who wanted to be, instead of villainizing them, like what has what has a trans done to you other than exist? Nothing. No trans person has ever done anything to me, and I'm not doing anything to a trans person, right? I'm saying I don't share your belief that sex is mutable, right? That gender is mutable. I don't share your beliefs that gender is a spectrum. That's your belief. You're welcome to your belief. That doesn't mean I hate you, right? And why do you always have to couch it in the language of hate? I think it's to validate yourself, because you can't answer the question. Look, there are many questions, many valid questions. Why are there so many mass shooters are trans? And the media always bears it. It always comes out, right? We've had a lot over the last couple of years of mass shooters are trans. Okay, what's going on there? What about women's sports? What have you ever heard Riley Gaines testimony? What about the army of detransitioners and their horrific stories? All these things need to be dealt with this issue. And, just one of these things will make it impossible for you to get what you want, right? For being trans to be normalized? Because there's a lot of other questions. What about people who abuse normalizing trans, right? Like in the California prison, they don't fall in love and have babies. No, they're raped over and over again. Like, these are real questions that really need to be answered. What about the instance of pedophilia with the people who want to bring drag queens to children? Why are children so why are children so important to the performance of drag? And again, it goes back to a kink, and I think the kink is being seen being seen and validated in something that's essentially a fantasy, right? I think people get off on that, right? I'm thinking of Dr. either Rebecca Levine or Rachel Levine, a woman with a penis working for the U.S. government, the Undersecretary of Health or something like that. But whenever they're on screen, right, on TV, dressed, presenting as a woman with a dick dangling around between their legs, they're like, oh yeah. And I think that's part of the kink, right? I think that's what you need to prove that it's not. And stop screaming, don't ask the question because it's racist. It's not racist, it's not bigoted. I'm trying to protect myself, my society, and my children, right? If engage with these questions, because these are not hateful questions. They are not hateful questions. So I said to him, no one's villainizing you. Trans people all have the same rights as anybody else. I don't believe that Jesus was the Messiah, but that's not villainizing Christians. But equally, I would object to my children being indoctrinated into Christian theology. We'll kind of look at this video in a bit, which is brilliant. It wasn't a danger for all my nieces and nephews who are under 10 love the Rose character. Well, actually, that actually was a danger to them, right? Because it's validating falsehood, right? I get it's like 1984. They will say, no, most people don't believe you, don't agree with you, right? If outer empowering is just, you need to understand that it's the normal world now. It's not. And that's why it's doing badly. It is not the normal world now. I can't stand seeing trans people being treated with the same disrespect as gays in the 80s. They're not. Right. And virtually, I replied, right, virtually all people with your outlook don't have children. Most parents feel the opposite. And trans people are not being treated with any disrespect. I was there in the 80s when gay people actually were. Why can't we just be accepted for who we are? Because you're not that. I don't believe you are that. And stop dictating to me what I need to believe. I don't believe that you are that. Right? That's the bottom line. I don't believe that you are that. And I'm not going to, and I'm not disadvantaging you. I'm not saying, no, you can't. I think women should have, women without penises should have spaces for women without penises if that's what they want. Right? I think they have rights. I think J.K. Rowling has rights. Remember Russell Davies said, I'd love to get J.K. Rowling to write for the show. Guess not anymore. So I say, look, I don't see how you're not being accepted. Do you believe in Jewish theology? If not, does that mean you hate me and don't want me not to exist? Are you denying my existence? Look, so I asked him to come on the live stream for a real conversation, and he didn't get back to me. So let me find this video. Again, I think you can convince children to believe and say anything, right? Because children are innocent, right? They are innocent. I think this is it. Let's have a look.
$1,000 cash, or wait a minute, this 2 out of the box Oreo cookies. Huh?
Oreo.
Are you sure?
Yes.
That's $10,000 cash. You want the Oreo cookies? Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I get, and that's, kids often do want to do very self-destructive things. You don't let them. You have to protect them because they're children. They're your children, and you put your life on the line for them. And that's the other thing. the trans movement's attitude to children is indistinguishable from NAMBLAs, the National Man Boy Love Association, and pedophiles, right? Which is, let children choose for themselves. Children have rights. Let them choose for themselves, and separate them from family. Oh, that's your family. Weird. They're bad. They're bad people, right? They're bad people because they hate. They hate. And they want to isolate you from those who really care about you and genuinely love you, right? I think it's a disgraceful and a disgusting thing. So, I understand that you really want to normalize that you can be a woman and have a penis. I understand that. While most people have been quiet about it to a great extent, we don't believe you, right? And it's a religion. I'm sorry, this has exactly the same tenets of religion. It's just non-theistic, and much like I wouldn't like my religion pushed down the throat of a Christian or a Muslim or an atheist, I don't want somebody else's religion pushed down my throat, which is what this was. It just what this was. Fine. With that, okay, nearly done. I went way longer than I thought. I'm going to hand over to me from Saturday night, right? And you're going to see my initial reaction. To the Star Beast, which was shocking and amazing. Let me hand over to me from a couple of nights ago. I don't want to tell you. Fuck me. That was woke. I mean, that was like maybe the wokest thing I've ever seen. That was. I'm trying to process how this is going to play out. It's so woke. It was actually quite good in a lot of areas as well. And it was so woke, right? It was. It was so woke. Seriously, was it any good? I don't know. I don't want to tell you. It was so, it's like this is me, right? Watching Doctor Who, having a good time, bam, woke, bam. What's going on? I'm watching Doctor Who, bam, woke. Oh God, I'm watching good Doctor Who. First, it felt like Doctor Who in a lot of ways. I mean, I wouldn't say very sophisticated Doctor Who. This is not your talents of Weng Chiang or your case of Androzani, right? Be aware. This is like the dumbest Doctor Who. It was very good, but it wasn't like it's a basic Christmas story episode feel, right? It's like, but it's so woke. I can't believe how woke it is. Now, one of the big problems is I made sure I didn't listen to anybody else's reviews. I'm trying to know what everybody else thinks, right? Because it was very good in a lot of ways. I'm really intrigued to see what the reaction is going to be, right? I imagine a lot of the media, the GBTV, the Talk TV, they're going to be all over this and savaging it because it's so woke, right? This is irredeemably woke. Yeah, I think again, somebody on Downstream said that Doctor Who in 2023 had become an exercise in how much irritation you can excuse, right? And then don't you devils! I'm gone, right? But it's so this was like this is the me. By the end, oh God, it was so woke. We'll go through everything in detail, right? We're gonna spoil the fuck out of it. It's so woke. I know I may be repeating myself, but that's really not. I'm going to go into extreme detail about why it was so woke. It was so woke. I am badly woke. and I would say immorally and dangerously woke, right? Mixed in with a fun Christmas Day Doctor Who. That's basically what it was. Again, don't expect an intricate story here. This is very, very, very simplistic, right? And very cringe. In many places. Very cringe, right? Where do we begin? I don't know, but look, we're gonna have to have a debate about transgender, about being non-binary transgender, right? I don't think Russell wanted a debate. I think Russell wanted to lecture us and tell us what's permissible to think, because this was certainly can be legitimately described as an extremely biased advertising campaign for being transgender, right? Extremely biased one. And I think that would be a fair description. I mean, it's also Doctor Who, but it was very much a party political pop broadcast on behalf of the LGBTQIA debate. I think you want to just shout me into silence, right? Listen, if what I'm saying is wrong, tell me where I'm wrong. And don't tell me I'm immoral for asking the question and then say, and pretend you don't. You're doing that just to avoid answering the questions, right? I'm sorry. You know, it's like Rusty Davies is reacting to a prejudice that doesn't exist. And the reaction to it is actually created that prejudice, right? I mean, it's like nobody really cared about trans kids, trans people, right? Do what you want, right? Until they said, no, you must educate your children that this is a good thing to do. Like, don't tell me how to raise my kids. You have your beliefs. That's fine. That's your beliefs. I happen to disagree with you. I think you're wrong for very good reasons, right? But beyond my personal feelings, there are all these legitimate questions you need to answer, which haven't been answered. You want to have the debate? We'll have the debate, right? Don't call me a fascist for asking you very reasonable questions on your very questionable ideas, right? I'm sorry. I think these are very reasonable questions, right? And it's not born out of hate at all. It's born out of a fear that you are taking a sexual kink and represent that's a sexual kink enjoyed by a very small minority of the population, and saying that is in fact a normative sexual identity. And I don't believe you're correct. All right. I mean nobody any harm. If anybody has what I believe that kink is, let them live out their life how they want. Right? I'm certainly not me to dictate, right? I think it's a bad idea. Right? I think it's a bad idea. For several reasons. Right? I think it's bad for them, right? Just if somebody wanted to live out their life as a fish person, right? As a furry, right? As a baby, as people do nowadays. It's not good for them, right? It's not good for them. You are who you are, right? And you need to accept who you are, right? And you know, fine. Look, we'll get into it when we talk about the story, right? I mean, there is what to talk about. We finally saw the new TARDIS. Very underwhelming. I have to tell you, very underwhelming. It's exactly what those guys predicted, right? That I use on my thumbnails all the time. Very underwhelming. Hang on. I have to open up my thumbnail. New titles were good. Theme tune also somewhat underwhelming. Oh, I'm in the wrong bloody program. I went to Premiere. I meant to go to Photoshop beta. There we go. So Right, Photoshop Paint's got all these cute, cool AI tools built into it, which I really like. Second, let me zoom in. Yeah, I'll share with the world the magic, right? Now I know what I should have done with this thumbnail here. Doink. Here's what I should have done with this thumbnail, right? They all should be have this a speech balloon come out, and it's just say trans rights are human rights. Trans rights are human. Like everybody just say that. Trans rights are human right. Really, I didn't get your subtle messaging, darling. Okay, let's see if I can find this TARDIS control room. Let me turn off the text. Doink. And the time. Doink. And it's... This is from the previous one. There you go. Look at that bit of AI. Stretch that out, darling. Whoa, there you go. I'm always ready for a bit of TNA, darling. What can I tell you? But here, not right now. Doink. Doink. Sorry, Millie, you gotta go, darling. Gotta go. Where's my backgrounds? There you go. 1 second. Let me see if I can find it. There you go. I found it. Doink. It's virtually identical to what was heavily predicted. Where'd it go? Oh, well, now I got so many layers. There you go. Doink. I mean, like, it's virtually identical to what these lads did. Here, let's kind of shrink that down. So these guys totally nailed it. they totally. I mean, their version's actually better in a lot of ways. I have to tell you, it's better in a lot of ways. Very underwhelming, the TARDIS. Their version is better, actually. Man, that's a very good point. Their version is way better. Anyway, there you go. There you go. I mean, the question is, what's the reaction this going to be like? My gut instinct is bad, right? But that's because, you know, I want my biases to be reflected in the world around them. I want that confirmation bias, right? I make no bones about that, right? Yeah, you know, it's but I just happen to think it is, right? I think there's really good. I think Russell Davies really shot himself in the foot. I don't know. We'll find out when the reviews come out, right? I imagine they're going to be not good in a lot of ways, right? I imagine that's what's going to go down. I don't know. Like, honestly, I don't. It's so woke. It's a bit stunning how woke it is. It's like it's broken my woke meter. I saw that RIP Doctor Who is trending. That's not good. That's super not good. I mean, I don't know. Again, that might just be confirmation bias, but that can't be good. I'm sorry. Right, Doctor Who. Fuck me. I don't know. That can't be good. Millie wasn't in it, sadly. Transfer human rights. Yeah, really? I didn't know. No, transfer human rights. Yeah, I know, but you have to shout it so loud. Yes! We have to shout it loud all the time. Okay. Nobody. I don't want right. What you don't have the right that people think it's not normal. You're a girl with a penis. Yeah, you don't have that right. You're right. I'm sorry, darling. You don't have the right for people to not go, oh, that's weird. You're a chick with a dick, right? Yeah, I think that's a very normative response. That's non-hateful. Because, you know, it's a little bit surprising because you're certainly a girl. No one's saying you're not a girl, and you got a penis, right? I mean, it's I tell you, darling, I think people are allowed to go, well, that's a bit odd, right? Without being called racist, right? And that's really the extent of it. As far as I understand, I'm sorry we don't. But I think you're more upset that we don't believe you. We don't share your worldview. I don't think you're a woman trapped in a man's body. I think you're somebody who has found gratification in many ways from assuming your sexual identity. Right? I'm not saying in a negative way. I don't think this is a healthy route for over 99% of people. And so therefore, healthy, I just don't. And if you can show me that it's fine, but there's so much to talk about in this. I think you're forcing your views on others. Yeah, I think this was more on your nose, more on the nose than the example of Dr. Stu I give, Father Stu. Imagine the doctor picks up a priest, a Catholic priest companion, Father Stu, really nice guy. Everybody loves Father Stu, right? And he keeps giving over very Christian-centric messaging in a positive manner, right? If Rusty Davies would be pissed the fuck off if you did that all the way through Doctor Who. Say, why have you hijacked my show for your Christian sermonizing? And I would think he would be right in that, frankly. But in the same way, if I can say it to Rusty Davies, I can also say it to you, right? Like what is up with all the sermonizing? And there was so much of it in the episode. It wasn't unnoticeable. It was integral to the episode. It really was. It was the entire center of the episode. So I'm just kind of blown away, right? If you're paying attention, it's hard not to miss that messaging. And I just don't know what the reaction is going to be to that. I think the action is going to be way different than Russell suspects, right? I think way different. I think he's going to be asked to justify his views. I think he's going to be dragged into debate when he tries to dogmatically tell us how things are.
My name's Tzvi Lebetkin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell. Ring the little bell so you're notified when new videos drop.